Let's start with a little honesty. Have you ever walked into the kitchen, stood there for a moment and thought, wait, what was I looking for again? Maybe you laughed it off. Maybe you blamed it on being tired. Or maybe deep inside, a little shiver ran down your spine. Because the word dementia is like a ghost. It haunts the back of our minds as we grow older. Now here's the shocker. New research suggests that the risk of dementia after the age of 55 is not the 20% we used to think, but closer to 40% or more, nearly 1 in 2 people. That's not just a small correction. That's like discovering your tiny leak in the basement is actually a flood pouring in from every wall. So today, I want us to sit together. Imagine we're at a small cafe table sipping coffee and talk about why. Why did we underestimate it for so long? Why are the numbers suddenly so much scarier? And more importantly, what does that mean for people like you and me, who want to keep our memories sharp and our independence intact? In this first half, we'll explore the hidden dangers, the reasons scientists missed the full picture, the lifestyle traps, the overlooked communities, the other diseases that quietly feed dementia, and the brutal truth of living longer but not always healthier. It may sound heavy, but trust me, I'll guide you gently with humor where we need it, and with enough clarity that you'll walk away informed, not panicked. Ready? Let's dive in. Imagine termites in a wooden house. From the outside, everything looks fine. The beams are strong. The paint is perfect. But inside, slowly, silently, the wood is crumbling. By the time you notice a crack, the damage is everywhere. That's exactly how dementia begins. Decades ago, doctors only diagnosed dementia once symptoms were loud and obvious. Repeating the same question 3 times in an hour, forgetting how to get home, losing track of bills or medications. But here's the cruel twist. By the time those signs appeared, the brain had already been under attack for 10 to 20 years. This silent phase fooled researchers. Entire generations of people with early brain changes were never counted in the statistics. We thought dementia was rare, but in reality, it was just hiding. It's like trying to count wolves in a forest by only looking during the day. Of course you'll say there aren't many. But wait until night falls, and suddenly the shadows are full of glowing eyes. Today with MRI scans, PET imaging, and biomarker testing, we can see in the dark, and what we found was shocking. Millions of adults already carry Alzheimer's proteins or vascular damage long before their first memory slip. That hidden iceberg was always there. We just didn't measure it. And that's why the official risk has nearly doubled. Let's be honest. For years, the scientific community told people dementia was mostly genetics or bad luck. You either inherited the wrong set of genes, or you didn't. Comforting maybe, but dangerously misleading. Why? Because lifestyle plays a massive role. And for decades, we brushed it off. Think about it. Our modern world has exploded with obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, smoking, heavy drinking, chronic stress. Each one of these isn't just a nuisance. It's a wrecking ball swinging straight at your brain. Let me give you an image. Picture your brain as a delicate computer, protected by millions of tiny wires. Every time your blood sugar spikes, it's like pouring sticky syrup on those wires. Every cigarette, a little scorch mark on the circuits. Every night of poor sleep, someone pulled the plug for a few hours. Over decades, the damage builds up, quietly, until one day the computer starts glitching. The reason dementia risk looks higher now is simple. We're living in an environment that feeds the fire. 50 years ago, obesity rates were a fraction of today. Type 2 diabetes was rare. Fast food wasn't a daily staple, and screen time didn't replace movement. Back then, researchers underestimated how these lifestyle epidemics would shape the brain health crisis we face today. So when new studies include lifestyle factors, guess what? The numbers soar. Suddenly, dementia isn't a random storm. It's the predictable result of decades of choices stacked against our brain. That's dramatic, but also empowering, because it means change is possible. Here's something painful but true. Dementia has always been underdiagnosed in certain communities. For decades, most research came from white, urban, middle-class populations who had easy access to doctors and memory clinics. But what about older adults living in rural towns or minority groups facing barriers to healthcare? Their struggles often went unseen. Imagine a small town in the Midwest. A 65-year-old man starts forgetting to feed his dog. misplaces tools, and gets lost driving home from the grocery store. His family notices, but the nearest neurologist is 2 hours away, and the local clinic dismisses it as normal aging. No brain scans, no diagnosis. He becomes invisible to the statistics. Now multiply that by millions. Black and Hispanic Americans in particular have been shown in recent studies to face twice the risk of dementia compared to white peers, driven by higher rates of hypertension, diabetes, and socioeconomic stress. But for decades, their cases weren't counted. It's like taking a class photo and leaving out half the students. Of course, the group looks smaller. Now that research finally includes diverse populations, the truth is impossible to ignore. Dementia is not just a problem of a few. It's a widespread crisis. And the numbers skyrocketed once we counted everyone. Here's a mistake we made: treating every disease like it lived in its own little box. Heart problems? That's cardiology. Diabetes? Endocrinology. Dementia? Neurology. Like 3 offices on different floors of the same building, barely talking to each other. But your body doesn't care about departments. It's all connected. When your arteries clog from years of high cholesterol, your brain cells suffocate. When your blood sugar yo-yos with diabetes, your neurons starve and swell. When chronic inflammation from arthritis or obesity runs wild, your brain becomes collateral damage. Think of your brain as a luxury penthouse. The elevator, your blood flow needs to run smoothly. The air filters, your oxygen delivery must stay clean. The foundation, your immune system, must stay balanced. If those fail, it doesn't matter how pretty the wallpaper is. The whole penthouse is at risk. For years, scientists underestimated these overlaps. Dementia wasn't just a brain disease. It was the final common pathway of many chronic illnesses. Once research began connecting the dots, the risk numbers shot up. Suddenly, dementia looked less like a rare lightning strike and more like the inevitable fire when sparks from other health problems are ignored. Here's a paradox that hits hard. Medicine has done wonders. Antibiotics, bypass surgeries, cancer treatments, blood pressure pills. We're living longer than ever before. Sounds like a triumph, right? Yes and no, because living longer doesn't always mean living healthier. Picture 2 70-year-olds. One is active, walking daily, managing stress, eating well. The other has survived 3 heart surgeries, takes 7 medications, and battles diabetes, obesity, and sleep apnea. Both made it to 70. But guess who's walking into the dementia danger zone more fragile, more vulnerable? That's the reality for millions today. 50 years ago, many people died before dementia could fully set in. Today, more survive heart attacks and strokes, but carry lasting damage that pushes the brain toward decline. It's like reaching mile 20 of a marathon. If you arrive strong, you can push through. But if you stumble in, dehydrated and exhausted, those last 6 miles will break you. Our modern lifespans give dementia more time to strike, but our overall health makes the blow harder. This is one of the starkest reasons dementia risk looks higher. It's not just about age, it's about the baggage we carry with us into those later decades. Now let me ask you something personal. Have you ever felt that deep, bone-tired stress that just doesn't go away? The kind that keeps you up at night, chewing on worries like unpaid bills, job insecurity, family arguments? That stress doesn't just make you cranky, it rewires your brain. Chronic stress bathes your neurons in cortisol, a hormone that's toxic in high doses. Over time, it shrinks memory centers like the hippocampus. Add loneliness on top, something millions of older adults experience, and you've got a brain under siege. During the COVID-19 pandemic, researchers saw skyrocketing cognitive decline linked to isolation. Seniors cut off from family, friends, routines. They lost memory faster than anyone expected. That reality forced scientists to admit something they downplayed. Social and emotional health aren't extras. They're core to brain survival. And so again, the dementia numbers rise when these hidden risks are counted. Finally, let's not forget the obvious. Our ability to measure dementia has transformed. In the past, doctors diagnosed it with pen and paper tests. Draw a clock. Remember these 3 words. Helpful, but primitive. Now, we can scan the brain, measure proteins, analyze genetics, track subtle speech changes with AI. And guess what? The more advanced the microscope, the more cracks we see in the glass. It's not that dementia suddenly exploded. It's that we finally have the lenses sharp enough to see the truth. So here we are. Dementia risk looks terrifyingly high, not because it suddenly grew overnight, but because we've been missing the full picture all along. Silent phases went uncounted. Lifestyle bombs exploded under our noses. Minority and rural communities were left invisible. Other diseases poured gasoline on the fire. Longer lives gave dementia more time to strike. Stress, isolation, and overlooked risks piled on. And finally, better tools revealed the iceberg that was always there. It's dramatic, yes. Sobering, absolutely. But remember, we're only halfway through the story. Because while risk is higher than we thought, so is our power to fight back. In the second half of this journey, we'll flip the script. We'll explore 5 powerful solutions, ways you can protect your brain, build resilience, and stack the odds in your favor. So don't stop here. The bad news may be shocking, but the good news is within reach. And I promise, it's worth hearing. We've spent a lot of time in the shadows, talking about why dementia is far more common than we once believed. And yes, some of it was heavy. Silent phases, lifestyle bombs, hidden populations, the weight of other diseases, the price of living longer, sobering truths, all of them. But here's the good news. Knowledge is power. And if the first half was like shining a flashlight on a dark forest full of wolves, this second half is about discovering the tools to protect yourself, armor, fire, and strategies to keep the wolves at bay. Because dementia isn't destiny. 40% risk does not mean 40% inevitability. It means 40% opportunity. And that's where we're headed now. Let's talk solutions. 5 powerful ways to protect your brain and bend those statistics back in your favor. Close your eyes and picture your brain for a moment, not as a lump of gray tissue, but as a busy city, lit up at night with millions of lights flickering in every window. Those lights are neurons, firing signals to help you think, remember, and dream. And just like any city, the fuel that flows in determines how well it runs. That's where diet comes in. For decades, nutrition was dismissed as nice but optional. Now it's front and center in dementia prevention. The Mediterranean diet, rich in olive oil, vegetables, nuts, legumes, whole grains, and fish, has been linked to slower cognitive decline. The Mind diet, a hybrid of Mediterranean and DASH, was specifically designed for brain health, and studies show it can reduce dementia risk by as much as 53% when followed closely. Why does this matter? Because every meal is like casting a vote for your brain's future. A salmon fillet rich in omega-3s nourishes neurons like premium oil in an engine. A handful of blueberries loads your bloodstream with antioxidants, sweeping away free radicals that corrode memory. Even something as humble as leafy greens, spinach, kale, collards, provides folate and vitamin K, the unsung heroes of cognitive protection. Contrast that with processed foods, loaded with sugar, trans fats, sodium. They clog blood vessels, inflame tissue, and starve your brain of oxygen. It's the difference between feeding your city fresh water and pumping in sludge. And let's get personal. Imagine a 60-year-old man who's eaten fast food for decades. His memory slips, his doctor notices high cholesterol, and scans reveal early brain changes. He switches, slowly at first, to cooking at home, adding olive oil, nuts, berries, beans. Within months, his weight improves, blood pressure stabilizes, and his mental fog lifts. That's not fantasy, it's documented in studies. Food is medicine, especially for the brain. So when you open your fridge tonight, remember, you're not just choosing dinner, you're choosing how brightly your city lights will glow 10, 20 years from now. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you broke a sweat? Not from stress, not from rushing to catch a bus, but from pure, intentional movement. Exercise is one of the most powerful weapons against dementia, and yet so many people think of it only as weight control. In reality, it's brain fuel. When you move, you pump oxygen and nutrients into your neurons. You grow new blood vessels in the brain. You even stimulate the release of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a kind of fertilizer that helps brain cells sprout and connect. Imagine 2 65-year-old women. One walks 30 minutes a day, dances with her grandchildren, maybe does a little yoga. The other spends most days sitting at work, in the car, in front of the TV. 10 years later, whose brain will be sharper, more resilient, more protected? The data is overwhelming. Regular physical activity lowers dementia risk by up to 40%. And it doesn't have to be marathon training. Brisk walking, cycling, swimming, gardening, all count. The key is consistency. Your brain doesn't care if you lift dumbbells or grocery bags, it just wants you to move. Think of exercise as charging your brain's batteries. Every time you walk, dance, stretch, you're plugging the cord into the outlet. Skip it long enough, and the lights dim. So the next time you feel tempted to skip that walk, ask yourself, is your memory worth 30 minutes? I'd bet it is. Here's a fun fact. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And no, I don't mean doing crossword puzzles alone. Though they help, I mean constantly challenging your mind with novelty, learning a new language, picking up an instrument, even cooking a recipe from a different culture. These activities create new neural connections, forcing your brain to adapt. And every new connection is like laying another road in that busy city. The more roads, the easier traffic flows. Contrast that with monotony, doing the same things, watching the same shows, sticking to the same routines. That's like letting your city crumble, potholes everywhere, no new bridges built. Over time, the system slows down. And here's the kicker, it's never too late. A 70-year-old who starts learning Italian, joins a book club, or takes painting lessons will see benefits. Studies show mental stimulation, even in later life, can delay the onset of dementia symptoms. Think of your brain as a garden. Leave it alone, and weeds take over. But plant seeds of curiosity, creativity, challenge, and it blooms. So ask yourself, when was the last time you planted a seed in your mind? Let's talk about something most people ignore. Sleep. Sleep isn't downtime. It's the night shift for your brain. During deep sleep, your brain flushes out toxins, including amyloid plaques linked to Alzheimer's. Skip sleep, and it's like leaving trash piled up on the curb day after day. The stench grows. Add stress on top and you've got a recipe for disaster. Chronic stress floods your brain with cortisol, shrinking memory centers like the hippocampus. And when stress robs you of sleep, the damage doubles. Picture this, a 55-year-old executive, constantly on his phone, emails buzzing at midnight. He sleeps 5 hours, wakes groggy, powers through with coffee. He tells himself it's fine, but inside his brain, toxins build, circuits fray, and memory begins to slip years earlier than it should. The fix isn't rocket science. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. Build routines, dim the lights, avoid screens before bed, make your room cool and quiet. Manage stress with meditation, prayer, journaling, or simply walking in nature. Think of sleep and stress like maintenance crews in your city. Give them time and space, and they repair potholes, clear trash, repaint signs. Deny them, and your city falls apart. Finally, let's talk about medicine. Not the miracle pill we all wish existed, but the real power of early detection. For too long, people treated memory loss as just aging. Families delayed doctor visits, patients brushed off symptoms, and precious years were lost. But here's the truth. Catching dementia early can make all the difference. Early detection allows doctors to treat underlying conditions, hypertension, diabetes, sleep apnea, that accelerate brain decline. It gives families time to plan, adjust, and support. It opens the door to clinical trials, therapies, and interventions that can slow progression. Imagine two friends, both 60. One notices memory slips and ignores them for 5 years. By the time she seeks help, the disease is advanced. The other speaks up early, gets tested, adjusts her lifestyle, starts treatment. She buys herself years of independence. That's the power of facing dementia head-on, not hiding from it. So if you or someone you love notices warning signs, forgetting names, losing track of bills, getting lost in familiar places, don't wait. See a doctor. Knowledge doesn't destroy hope, it creates it. We began this journey with a shocking number. 40% risk after age 55. A number that made dementia feel like an unstoppable wave. But here's the real story. That number isn't a sentence. It's a wake-up call. Think about it. If dementia were only about genetics, if it were only destiny, then fear would be all we have. But it's not. We now know lifestyle, diet, movement, sleep, stress, and early care shape the brain's future. That means action matters. That means you matter. Picture two roads. On one, someone shrugs their shoulders, says it's all fate, and keeps living as usual. On the other, someone makes small choices, swapping fries for berries, taking a 20-minute walk, joining a choir, turning off screens before bed. 10 years later, those roads don't just look different, they are different. One leads to sharper memories, laughter with grandchildren, stories told at the dinner table. the other may not. And that's why this message is not one of despair. It's one of possibility. Yes, dementia is more common than we thought. Yes, the risks are real, but so are the solutions. And the sooner we act, the stronger our defense becomes. So I'll leave you with this. Take one small step today. Maybe it's an apple instead of chips. Maybe it's a walk instead of a TV show. Maybe it's calling your doctor or finally saying yes to that language class. Each step is a vote for your brain's future. And if you found this conversation helpful, share it. Because somewhere out there, someone is quietly worrying about their memory, and they need to know they're not powerless. Your brain is your story, your history, your laughter, your love. Protect it, nurture it, and never forget, you're not alone in this fight.